morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I recap live trials. My name's Rebecca, also known as Crafting Journey, and today I got a good one for you. It just started yesterday. It's a case of 33-year-old Alan Brown versus, well, the state of Wisconsin versus 33-year-old Alan Brown. Yeah. He shot a canine. Yes, a dog. So kind of a different sort of a case. A lot of information behind it. So I want to show you, I finished my diamond painting from the month of March. This was the mystery painting that I didn't know what I was painting. Here it is. Look how pretty it turned out. It's a baby dragon. This was a mystery. I didn't know what it was that I was painting. So how cool is that? Yeah, turned out pretty good. So what I'm going to do is just roll it up till I figure out where I'm going to display it. And we're going to put it off to the side. For now, yep, I have started another diamond painting that I received from Enabler's Outpost. It is called Futura Illumine, and here's a picture of it. I'll put it here. I'll also put the unboxing in the eye. If you haven't watched it, take a look. Loving this painting. So far I've only done one little section up here in the corner. I'm not going to do any replacement of any of the drills because this canvas was given to me by Enabler's Outpost so that I could do it for them and see, you know, give them feedback on the canvas. And I want to do it as it was charted. And it does have, you know, gold metallic drills and some AB drills already in it, Aurora Borealis drills. Those are resin drills that have an iridescent coating on them that make it super sparkly. And I usually add more of those to enhance the painting, but I'm just going to do it the way it was meant to be done so the company can get feedback from me. Okay, I said all that to say this. Welcome. It's Wednesday. I will be doing Craft With Me Wednesday tonight at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Not sure what we've got on the agenda for today, but it'll always be fun. All right, so we're going to talk about 33-year-old Alan Brown. Weird case. Really, really weird case. So on October 21st, 2021, early that morning, Alan Brown was in Chicago. He got into an argument at a bus stop with another man, a 25-year-old man. Alan Brown shot and killed him. He then attempted to carjack a car and shot and killed a 41-year-old man, took the vehicle and fled and headed towards Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, I couldn't find any information on the deaths of these two men, but my understanding is this is the first trial of many. So he's still facing those charges in Chicago. But this particular trial is in Kenosha, and I'm going to tell you all about how these charges came about. This is not a murder trial. This is an attempted, what do you want to call it? I'll read you the charges. Let me read you. All right. Let me tell you about the case first. I'm all over the place. I don't know should I read the charges first, tell you about the case first? All right, I'm going to tell you about the case first. So about 11 o'clock that morning, OnStar calls the Kenosha Police Department and says, listen, there's a vehicle that we have tracked to the Benson Corner Shell Station. GPS is saying that the vehicle is there. This vehicle was involved in a homicide. At the same time, the Chicago Police Department is calling Kenosha and saying, can you please go find this vehicle, retain the driver until we can get there. Just stop him and retain him until we can get there. He was involved in a shooting spree, these two men that were shot in Chicago. So this is around 11 o'clock. So now Officer Coltrip, with the Kenosha, Wisconsin Police Department. He is patrolling, and he is the first to arrive at the Shell Station, the Benson Corner Shell Station. And there's a big map of it blown up for the jury, you know, and the jury sees it. And it's quite a large station, a lot of property, and, you know, it's adjacent to a busy highway. So it has like off ramps and on ramps. So Officer Coltrip, he sees the vehicle. It is parked to the left of a dump truck off to the, there's the store here, and he is off. He's not parked in front of the store. He's parked on the side off to the side. Yeah. I don't know if it was east or west. So Officer Coltrip, he backs his vehicle up and he parks on the other side, which is quite a distance between those two sides. And he just sits there and he waits for some other people to get there because they want to do a felony stop, which is different than a traffic stop. In a traffic stop, you just pull the vehicle over, you walk up to the vehicle. On a felony stop, you wait for several officers to arrive, then you make like a V around the vehicle because you want to sort of box in the vehicle, and then you want to get the driver out of the vehicle. So he's waiting for other people to arrive. So another officer arrives on the scene, and all of these guys testified yesterday, and I'm kind of combining the opening statement of the prosecution with the officers that testified yesterday. Coltrip was the first one because he was the first one on the scene. So they attempt to make this trap after the other officers get there. The first two officers, and then the canine officer arrives, and then there's a fourth officer that arrives. So they all pull up behind this vehicle. It is a 2016 brown Buick Encore. So they pull up, and they're like, get out of the vehicle, step out of the vehicle. Well, the guy gets out of the vehicle and proceeds to start running. And so Coltrip, they all start running after him, basically. So, but Coltrip is in the lead, Officer Coltrip. And the two officers behind him, Officer Tripp, who has canine rigs, is behind him, and the other officer is behind him, and they're both hollering, dog, 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 meaning you need to get out of the way. So Coltrip stops to let the dog canine go past him, the canine officer and the dog go past him. He's got the canine dog on a leash. Now the canine was a dog that Officer Tift got in 2014 and had been training. He was a full service dog. He was trained to do locations of, sniff out marijuana, drugs. He was trained to do apprehension. He was trained to do aggression control. So he knew pretty much all of this stuff that this was officers, because canines are trained to do different things. So he's running after this guy who takes off towards the highway, the entrance ramp of the highway, and he's in that entrance road. The officer lets go of the leash. The dog goes after him. And at some point, and this is kind of confusing, I don't see it on the video, but each one of the officers testified that they saw him reach into his pocket with his right hand and pull out a weapon. So the dog latches onto him and pulls him. And that's what he's trained to do, to bite him and then just maintain that bite. And I don't know if he bit the leg or an arm, I'm not sure. But what you can see on the video is that this guy is taken down by the canine. But then you hear shots. The guy shoots the dog in the head. So once they realize he's got a weapon and he's shot the dog, they begin firing at the suspect. So Officer Coltrip fires 9 shots at the suspect. Officer Tripp fires 5 shots at the suspect. The dog he's been shot right here at the top of his head, and he's confused. He's like, you see him run away, and then he kind of lays down for a second, and then he gets up and he starts running out towards the traffic, this highway. So Officer Tift is running after his dog, gets him, finally catches up with him when the dog is in the median of the highway, grabs the leash, and he's able to bring the dog back and put him in his vehicle. It's at that point that he realizes his dog has been shot in the head. So he tells the other officers, I'm going to take my dog to the vet. He's been shot in the head. Now, there's a statute that says that service animals, the canine animals that are working for the police department can ride in ambulances, but he was not going to wait for an ambulance. He's like, no, I'm getting my dog to the vet. So they told him where the nearest vet was, and he goes, lights and siren, accompanied by another officer, to the nearest vet. Now let's go back to the shooting. So the suspect is shot several times, but he's not dead. They said he's breathing, and they're telling him to spread his arms out because, he had a weapon. So, and he's not doing, he's writhing in pain. So one of the officers was able to get up to him. They all go up to him with their weapons drawn, but one was able to handcuff his hands behind his back. Then they went into treatment mode. Officer Coultrip starts cutting his clothing off to find out where he's been shot. He was shot in the lower abdomen. I don't know if he had any other gunshots. They thought maybe one of his extremities, either his arms or legs, were shot, but it turned out to be the dog bite.
He's just straight down there. Keeps going on and off the brakes.
Is that the one?
The tiny little SUV.
I can't see from here.
No. Yeah, so next to the dump truck, that's where he is. Facing the fence line.
Alright.
It looks like the only person, I could only see one person, but I didn't stare into there a lot, so I just acted like nothing. So I'm guessing once 241 comes, you and I will come in from behind, and 241 will come in from the side.
As long as he doesn't move.
Right. Three-way 241.
Go ahead.
He's parked alongside a dump truck. When you come into Benson's, take that very first east entrance, and then 261 and I will come up behind him, and you'll take what would be the south side of the vehicle by the dump truck.
Temple.
Dispatch has been updated.
Photo on 235, what's your 20? Change the left frontage. Temple.
Dispatch has been updated.
41 freeway, let's wait till 235 gets there.
Copy. Yeah, there's just lots of movement, keeps going on and off the brakes.
Temple.
Dispatch has been updated.
Racing the 308 is coming from the west. Just pulling up by here, 41.
You can pull up next to
Dispatch has been
261 and explore.
Stop reservation. 235 passing empty.
Straight ahead. At the end of the parking lot. Yeah.
Dispatch has been updated.
218 ready on share.
Driver, step out of the vehicle with your hands up. Hands up. Hands up and stop moving. Get on the ground now! Drop the gun! 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 God damn it. 308 shots fired. Sit suspect down, bro, okay. God damn it.
Officers are okay. Officers are okay.
Put your hands out! Put your hands out!
Then rescue.
Arms out! Arms out!
241. 241. Shot first. I don't shot. Then rescue. Copy. 235, 23. I'm your supervisor. 214's en route. 204's out. 204. It appears that the canine was injured. Subject breathing. We're not approaching yet.
308 204, you got a shield? Go.
We have a supervisor en route, detective is en route, rescue is en route.
235, hold up there blocking anybody coming to the entrance. Put your arms on the side, do it now!
308 204, do you got a shield with you?
Negative.
You see his arms? Do you see his arms? Anything in them?
Taking corners.
Anything in his hands?
Not this one. Not
Put
that
your
one.
arms on the side!
Get your arms out at your side.
Stay back.
Two or three going.
Take them out.
Arms on the side, get away! 241. Get this one over to clear.
See both hands. Nothing else.
Stopper, can anybody go over by 241 all clear car?
Don't move! Inside 241. 281 at 241. Subject that handle on. Watch open.
Copy. Subject has hands cuffed on to 1129 clock. Okay. Copy. Car stand.
Here, 12 up if you got him.
Making sure we're going to get the hospital.
Are you going to WBRC?
Call
235,
One in custody. You have a gunshot wound. More evidence.
Sending body worn down in 20 seconds. Sending body worn down in 15 seconds. Body worn down canceled.
Alright, we got one in the chest, one in the leg.
Sending body worn down in 20 seconds. Body worn down canceled.
Sheriff.
Halfway there.
186.
I'm sorry, stomach and leg.
For the dog. I don't know what extent.
I'm gonna
186, 10.3.
We got you. Anytime, bud.
Any units, we have there,
Weapon secured. Yeah, we'll just use their stuff.
Calm down, sir. Rescue's here, okay? What do you guys got? Right.
One to the stomach, one to the pestle and oil.
Okay? Yeah, that's okay. Keep that.
One to oil, one to... Okay.
What's your name, man?
Yep, all right.
What's your name?
You got someone that can grab the camera so I can take pictures?
What's your name? My name's Stan, I'm here to help.
What's your name? Don't move. Stay down. Let them.
Alan Brown.
Don't do ya.
308 in Illinois, 279 file number.
You were shot from the front? Yeah.
Right, really.
Boy, 650-0138-8020.
Stay down.
Just hold on to it and attach.
Don't figure it out. Stay down. I'll check for an exit wound.
All the rest of you guys are okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Yep.
shots,
Nope.
no one in the ambulance, you guys are good?
No, just a dog. Right there. Shot in the arm as well.
Everything's controlled right there so far?
Left arm.
All right, we're gonna put them on a cot.
Come back this way.
One of you coming with us?
Yeah. All right.
Come with you.
You got the police on the stand?
Way away from your crime scene to get in here.
That way.
241, yours is that. Right by subway, you just pass it.
Stan, you good with
Turn
that?
around, come back to
We
me.
have left arm, left thigh, tourniquets on, and open. One shot to the ground.
Right,
Get them on a cot and move.
201-26, go ahead.
You can be headed to the hospital, so. Couple deputies will be heading there, and we need to see protect.
Copy, you're gonna need to be protected.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
235, go
start.
ahead.
235.
Get him on cuff? Yeah, he's cuffed. We might have to reach up him. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. We just gotta move them.
Can we take him? Are you holding something?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Or after that.
27276, I copy you are after that 218.
Yeah. I do four guys. Dave, if you can do that side? Yep. Yep.
Ready?
Yeah,
Yeah, you ready?
1, 2, 3.
32 routes, still 306 miles out. 232.
Transfer.
Sure, you can share the number out there.
Transfer.
St. Catherine's, we have a call for gunshot victim.
Alright.
Go ahead, 272.
5240, we want to give them a full.
Myself, 161 and 243, I'll take.
Transfer.
Hey, this is Deputy Coulter with Kenosha Sheriff speaking for the Bristol Fire Chief. We have a trauma victim coming in, 3 gunshot wounds, 1 to the arm, 1 to the stomach, abdomen, and 1 to the left leg. The fire chief will update once they get on the way.
Sheriff 214.
Yep, they're on their way now. Correct.
You got him in there?
They're on their way. I told them.
You got him in there?
Yeah. You're going to have 2 squads following you.
214, go ahead, I'm on the TX for the second.
You're going to have 2 squads following you.
Let me know when you're done.
No.
How many people in the house go in front of the detectives are already being routed?
MS arrives, the supervisors arrive, but because this was an officer-involved shooting, they had to have the Racine County Sheriff's Department investigate this incident. So here's what Alan Brown is charged with. He is charged with first-degree recklessly endangering safety, 3 counts for each of the officers that feel like they were being that the gun had been aimed at them. No one is sure how many shots this guy fired, but so I tried to count them on the video, but I lost count. So possession of a firearm by an out-of-state felon, strike police fire animal using a dangerous weapon causing injury, mistreatment of animals, law enforcement, failure to comply with an officer's attempt to take him into custody, and driving or operating a vehicle without the owner's consent. Now, I think he's got some other charges too. He's got the murder charges, and then I believe, and I'm not positive of this yet because I haven't heard all the evidence, but I believe once he gets to the hospital and he's there for his treatment, he attempts to escape. Yeah. And later on, he is charged with headbutting a corrections officer, causing the guy to have to go get stitches in his head. He's charged with that too. This is not, you do not want to run into this guy in an alley. He is not a nice person. Here's a picture of him here. I also want to show you the video of this whole incident. This is Officer Coltrip's body cam. Now, what was really interesting to me was some of the technology that was used in this whole case. First of all, OnStar disabled the vehicle. That's why he couldn't flee in the vehicle, because OnStar had disabled his vehicle. So he was actually at that Shell station for 54 minutes before they got there and tried to apprehend him, because he couldn't go anywhere. His vehicle wouldn't start. He didn't know why it wouldn't start. And then OnStar actually called the police to say, go get this vehicle. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm kind of liking this OnStar thing. Then the body cameras that the officers were wearing, they had just got these body cameras not long before this incident. It's a brand new type of body camera that not only can the officer turn it on and off himself, but dispatch can turn it on. So if the officer maybe happens to forget to turn it off, dispatch can turn it on. Depending on the type of call it is, dispatch can turn on the body cam. And it also can be used as a camera, which will come into play later, because Officer Tripp, when he takes the stand, because each one of these guys took the stand yesterday, Officer Coltrip, the other 2 officers, Officer Tripp, at one point, all right, I don't want to spoil it for you. So Officer Tripp, he's asked about his body camera. He says, well, he had just come off of a burglary call where he had used his body camera as a camera. So it was in picture mode. And when he got the call about the vehicle stop, it was still, he didn't realize it was still in picture mode and that you had to manually change it back to video, and he hadn't done that. So he thought he had turned it on, and he actually had not turned it on because it was still in picture mode. So they were still learning these cameras. So really, really interesting technology going on here. So what happened to the dog? Yes. Did I show you the video? Here's the video. So what happened to the dog? Well, they get to the animal hospital. The dog is conscious. He never lost consciousness. He takes the dog inside the vet. They were able to lift him up, put him on a table. They get a good look at him. And at this point, this poor officer, I did see he didn't have his body cam footage on, but they showed his vehicle footage. And in that, you can hear how distraught he is about his dog having been shot. He is using some expletives that you would not believe because he was so upset about this. So when he gets to the vet and they get the dog on the table, another officer actually has to go up to Officer Tift and check him and make sure he wasn't injured. Because when your adrenaline's going, you don't even realize if you're injured or not. So they actually checked him to make sure he was not injured. So no officers were injured in this incident, except Officer Riggs, the canine. So they get him on the table and they realize we don't have the equipment to help, you in this case. We need to transfer this dog to a regular animal hospital. This was, a local veterinarian. So they actually get a human ambulance. They put the dog in a human ambulance, take him to this animal hospital. He never has to have surgery. They did x-rays on his head, and apparently the bullet entered here, but the way the dog had his head positioned, it just kind of brushed his skull and came out behind his ear. I mean, this is like a miracle dog. But he was concussed by this. He had a concussion, and that's why he was kind of confused on the scene. And apparently he did what animals do when they're shot. When you shoot a deer or anything like it, they'll kind of run from the scene. Because when he was shot, he released the guy's arm or leg. I don't know which one he had. He released his extremity and he started to run. But then the animal will stop for a minute or so to try to assess themselves, get their bearings. And he did that. He laid down for not very long at all. He laid down, and then he gets up and he runs into traffic because he was just so disoriented. But happy to say, he spent 3 days in the hospital, and then when he left the hospital, he is met by a whole line of canine officers that just were lined up to escort him out of the vet hospital. It's just, oh my God, it was so sweet. Now, this is the weird thing. I cover murders all the time, but this one, I was crying when I was watching this last night. I'm like, oh, what happened to the dog? What is wrong with me? I'm getting all upset over the dog being shot, but I can talk about murders all day long and not get upset. Anyway, I'm a dog lover. So what I was going to tell you before is when Officer Tift took the stand, at one point they had a jury view of the dog. So Officer Tift left the stand, goes out to his vehicle, gets the dog, brings the dog back in, and shows the dog to the jury.
You want to bring him over here? Now, if you could please show the jury where Canine Riggs sustains at least the entrance wound.
Step right here. Out, went around. Right there.
As he sits here today, can you see any scarring?
No, just like a darker patch right here.
Just a darker patch on the top of his head? Fair to say the fur grew over the injury?
Yes.
Okay. Does defense want anything to do with the dog?
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, you can take Riggs back then. Thank you.
We'll wait for the deputy to come back and we can do the cross. Are you done with the testimony?
I am, yes.
Jury. Here's a picture of the dog. I mean, oh my God. I was married to a police officer, and he wasn't a canine officer, but we had, when we first got married, we had a retired canine dog living with us. And they're just lovers, these dogs. They're such great pets at home, but they work very hard when they're on the job. So Officer Riggs did return to full duty, is still, fighting crime with Officer Tift out on the road. But now this guy has all these charges. Now, I did watch a hearing that took place a few days before the trial started where he was offered a plea deal. Now, I don't know what the plea deal actually was. They never said, but he rejected it. The other thing that's interesting about this case is the guy's lawyer. Oh, my God. It looks like they picked him up out of a homeless camp. Like, take a look at what he's wearing. I hope I can find a picture of it. If I can, it'll put it here. But he had like this dark colored jacket that very ill-fitting, and these rust colored slacks, and he's got this big, like, he just looked like he was half asleep at the table. When he was asked if he was going to do an opening statement, he said, yes, I'm going to do an opening statement. He gets up and he says like two things, like I'm going to address you again at the close of the prosecution's evidence, at which time I'm sure you will find the defendant not guilty. And he sat down. I'm like, what? What? Oh, okay. Public defender. Yeah, I'm sure. Because they don't make much money. They might as well be homeless. I'm telling you, I was shocked to see how little public defenders make. It's not much at all. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So that trial is continuing today, and I will be continuing to cover it. I will see you tonight in Craft With Me Wednesday. If I don't, I'll see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily for day 2 of, what are we going to call this? The canine murder trial. Yeah, well, canine attempted murder trial. Yeah, the canine attempted murder trial. There you go. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye.